Hey, Adin, what are you doing? Boogie boogie.
Adin Yehuda Wellman, my brother, was born on June 2nd, 1992. Adin was healthy, easygoing, always smiling, and very close to his 4 siblings.
Adin and I were very close. He was my best friend. We're 3 years apart, and he was an unbelievably unique little boy. He was very gentle and sweet and kind, and he at the same time had this rough, boyish side that would come out when he would be with the rest of the men in our family. There was just something so special about him, and I think the fact that he was such a special little boy was what turned him into such a brave man. Nobody thinks of him going through everything. People would always say, oh, we're so sorry for your family, or I can't believe how brave you all are. But the truth is, he was the one that was brave. He was the one that was actually going through this torture.
In October 1994, my parents went to Israel with my sister Gila and came back October 19th. On October 20th, my mother decided to take Adin grocery shopping. The grocery store they went to was a place at Shepherd and Bathurst, ironically called Miracle Mart.
We went straight to the fruit section and straight to the grapes, and he asked for a green grape, which I gave him, and then he asked for a red grape, and I gave it to him, and then he asked for another grape, and I said, what color, Adin, green or red? Then he said green. So I gave him the green grape, only this time he didn't chew it like he did the previous times, and it literally slipped down his throat, and suddenly he looked at me and he tried to cry, but no sound came out. And I realized immediately that he was choking, and I right away did the Heimlich maneuver, and it didn't work. I just kept banging on his back, and he just kept trying to cry. And then I started screaming to call 911, and people around me kept saying, he's okay, and I said, no, he's not, just call 911. And then the ambulance driver came, and by that time he was unconscious, so they laid him on the floor, and the ambulance driver just kept doing these chest thrusts, and I couldn't understand why, and he was just doing little baby chest thrusts with 2 of his fingers. And I just kept yelling and screaming at him that he has a grape stuck in his throat. Take out the grape, take out the grape. And he just kept looking at me and shaking his head. And I honestly didn't understand what was going on. And they took him into the ambulance, and I went in to the front, and I just kept saying, is he okay, is he okay? And they didn't answer me. And they took him to Branson Hospital.
The doctors asked if they should let him go or keep trying to save him. The doctor didn't understand why he even tried, for the situation seemed so helpless, and for some unknown reason, he didn't give up. A special call was made to Rabbi Tendler in Muncie, who conference called the head of neurology in sick kids where Adin was transferred, to buy 72 hours to see if Adin could be weaned off of life support. In the meantime, the waiting room was filled 24 hours a day with people davening for my brother. The doctors began to lower the amount of pressure of the life support, and Adin started to breathe on his own, just as Rabbi Tendler predicted. In Adin's quiet way, he persevered. He fought to breathe, even with all those tubes coming out of him. He showed courage passively, accomplishing the seemingly impossible just by living.
I was once in intensive care with Adin at sick kids, and I went over to the doctor, and I said to him, okay, just give it to me straight. What am I dealing with? Is he gonna die? And he said to me, I've never met anybody like your son. He can't talk, he can't express his pain, and yet He is the most courageous boy I have ever met. I have been with him for so many years, and every time I thought this was the last time he wasn't going to make it, he just fights through. He is the most brave soldier that I have ever met, and I think that he will overcome it. And he did. And he did.
After his stay in sick kids for 6 more turbulent weeks, filled with uncomfortable seizures, he was transferred to a rehabilitation center and chronic care facility for children called Bloorview, where he received daily physiotherapy. Although Adin was unable to speak, he was able to show pain and communicate by different eye expressions and other forms of nonverbal demonstration.
I don't know how the idea came to my head, but I was telling him stories, and then I thought I'll start reading a book to him and show him the pictures in the book. And I pointed to the book, to the pictures, and he looked down. And then I always used to say to him everything like, "Do you love Sapta? If yes, look down." So he would look down.
Those years spent away in Bloorview were emotionally difficult for my family and Adin as well. Yet we turned a place that could be so unpleasant to be due to the fact that Adin was stuck, sick there in Bloorview, to another home for us. The nurses and doctors at Bloorview loved him, and that made the rehabilitation center such a comfortable place for Adin to be. After a few years, Bloorview moved to a new building. The plumbing there wasn't properly set up, so when a nurse was giving Adin a shower, the water that was supposed to be warm was instead scorching hot. Adin was unable to yell out or move away, and so that resulted in him getting 2nd and 3rd degree burns all over his body, especially his leg. After fighting for his life for 16 years, Adin passed away when he was 18 years old on December 30th, 2010. My family and our community at large were widely influenced by my brother Adin. Hatsala began in Toronto due to the tragic incident with the grape. The paramedic system changed too. There are now more paramedics on call and with the proper tools with them at all times. There was a huge burst of Torah learning and tefillah said for my brother. Everyone knew Adin's Tehillim name, and he was someone that many people all over the world knew needed a refuah shalema. Although the tefillos didn't keep him here with us today, we don't know how much they must have impacted on his life and on others. My sister Gila started a gemach in Monsey called Adin's Closet in his zechus.
Adin inspired me to start this gemach that actually started out as a gemach but turned into an entire chesed organization. In the zechus of Adin's neshama, we clothe hundreds of children on a regular basis. We took a family out of an abusive environment and put them in an apartment. We raised money to send a family to camp.
Gila's son Yehuda was born on the day we got up from sitting Shiva. He is now 5 years old and a huge source of nachas for my family.
I'm named Dr. Adin.
My family was affected largely by Adin and his courage. He showed us not to give up, not just on him and his life, but on any challenge that we face, we too can overcome it. Adin taught us that emunah. Although I only knew my brother Adin post-accident, his struggle to live and to connect and his accomplishments really taught me the many ways one can be courageous. Courage doesn't only mean to fight in a war or to survive horrendous physical conditions, but it could also be just the fight to breathe, the push to communicate, and the will to live.
Say bye-bye. Give a kiss.